Me too. My balance is too. Checkbook. Balance your checkbook.
That's everybody run and established.
You can't.
Well, you can't let it go. Why have you figured it out?
Hey, my dad, that's what he was doing. He never balanced his checkbook. He just always looked at his statement and said he had this much money. And he just mapped money out and he never blamed it. He never had a problem. And one day he looked at his checkbook and he said, I never took this much money out. And he had a scam company brought it to his checking account. And by the time he showed me, it was $1,200. They were taking $388 or some such in little installments.
So you wouldn't know.
It was different companies. Like he got into a group that they were sharing his number.
How much was it? I was here this morning and I
So I had to
had
go to
an
the
appointment
bank
at
and
10.
file papers and
back here.
close his checking account.
I'm gonna go back next.
Start a new one. And then I never let him have his checkbook again.
Yes, the architects just balance things all. See,
I still want paper.
Me too. I go get the bank, you do everything. I don't want anybody online to know online.
Yeah, you're posting online.
Yeah, it's easy.
Well, then guess what happened? My whole phone was still cracked. She couldn't remember her password. She could send her bills somewhere. She couldn't pay her bills.
Oh. Yeah, no.
That's what I say to
I'll be old school.
her. Me too.
Is Frank coming?
He told me he was.
He's not. I understand.
He's a babysitter. So we're doing pledge of allegiance and all that.
I touched her one night at bowling one morning, and she goes, "Oh my God, through my whole shirt, my sweater, I can feel your heat." She was freezing.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll do an opportunity for citizens if they want. Would anybody sign a sheet?
We all signed the sheet.
I mean,
Six of us.
no.
You sign.
Five of us.
We're not doing this.
Nobody would read the paper, huh?
So we wait for Frank?
Yeah, I didn't see it. There was a chance I had.
I think we go. I'm ready to go. Frank's not here yet, but
Okay.
I don't, he didn't tell me whether he's coming or he wasn't.
He said he had something scheduled he was going to try to cancel. Get here, seemed like he was intending to.
Okay. We'll call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting to assess the pension situation. And a roll call
Paul Jack,
here.
Dan Carroll,
Here.
Michael Girardi,
Here.
Frank Malvandry, Kathy Gillard,
Here.
Bob Christoph,
Here.
Larissa Tong, Chris Schramm.
Here.
Okay, opportunity for citizens to be heard. Tom Kao.
Yes, Borough Code Section 1307, appropriation of budget, Section 1309, revision and completion of budget, Section 1310, adoption of budget, Section 1311, amending budget in those, and Section 1312, modification of budget, supplemental appropriations and transfers, prescribes the method of authorizing expenditures and transfers from and to budget line items. In other words, all spending is approved in the budget by line item and transferred to cover other spending, and one line item are approved by council. So, given that's how things are supposed to be done, when was the council resolution that shifted funds from the police pension fund and the non-uniform pension plan transferred? What was the council authorization for this?
Make your point.
Well, you didn't follow the budget process to transfer funds from the police pension fund and the non-uniform pension plan to who knows where. Obviously, it disappeared because you're here to meet to do a loan to cover the missing funds. Also, I guess the question is, what budget am I on,
Make
where the
your
funds
point.
should go to? The funds are missing. You shouldn't be doing a loan. Not until you find out where the funds are. That's my point.
Okay?
Okay. Another question. Why wasn't...
Make your point.
Okay. You did make a payment to the pension fund contributions for 2014, 15, and 16.
13, 14, 15, and 16.
Well, you made it in 2015 for 2013.
Yeah, but it wasn't totally covered.
Okay. In your response to the Auditor General report, you stated that the payment would be made. That was in August 2016. For the 2017 budget, you didn't budget for the repayment. It's curious. You said you're going to make the payment, you don't budget for it. Very unusual. How's council going to plan on paying for this loan?
Make your point.
I think
The point is that you're either going to cut services or you're going to tax us more to recover the funds that are missing. And the final question is, well, two more. Is there a new budget? We need a new budget. If you're going to do this, you need a new budget, and it needs to be advertised and shown to the public. And the other question, the final question, or statement, it's really curious as to why council isn't concerned about where these funds went. You're just sitting here, you're getting prepared to tax us more, get another loan, and you're not at least a bit curious as to where those funds went. Amazing. $300,000 missing, and you're all sitting here ready to get a loan to fix it. Well, thank you for your diligence, and we're going to remember you come November. Thank you.
Lou?
My name's Lou Corsi. I live on 1520 Elkin Street. I had difficulty hearing what you said. I shouldn't have got up and,
I'm sorry.
okay, and I do have difficulty hearing members of council that speak in a softer tone than I normally do. I want to know, you have a proposal to borrow some money to pay off these pension funds? Did you apply for the loan already?
Make your point.
That was the point.
What,
You
make,
know, Chuck, you sent out, Paul, excuse me, Paul, you sent out...
you've had your floor.
They sent out the letter asking-
Did you apply for the loan already?
Refusing.
Did you make a ring?
Make your point.
My
What
point
difference
is,
does it make whether we did or we didn't?
what,
I mean, we're actually here today. If you look on the agenda today, the action is to apply for a loan.
you didn't pass any yet. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 of us here, and the agenda wasn't given to us. What you members of council sitting here, you're the only ones that have the agenda. We didn't have the agenda to read.
Usually the agenda is sitting there on the chair
Okay.
so people can pick it up when it comes in.
It was
So-
not.
Okay.
When was the newspaper?
Would you, Andy, go make a copy and pass out the agenda? Just give us a second.
What he's doing.
This reminds me of college.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here's the basic situation. It has come to council's attention that the monies to be paid into the pension funds, which are two basic funds, two sub-funds, which is the non-union fund and the police fund, that per contract, the per agreement with the police and the non-union people,
Non-uniform.
excuse me, you're right,
Just
non-uniform
that money
people,
may get confused.
that they have a pension and that we pay into the pension fund. And the process includes an actuarial company, which is part of our pension advisors company called R.J. Hall. They go through and calculate how much money should be put into the pension fund. So for as many years past, I don't know, since maybe, at least 20 years, I guess. Some years there's monies put into the pension fund or required to be put into the pension fund. Some years there's not. We recently found out that for 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016 in general, for those years, that by the end of those years, the monies were not paid into the pension fund. For 2013 and 2014, the budgets for 2013 and 2014, really, the only one on council that was here then was Frank for the preparation of those budgets. I think Tom prepared the 2014 budget, you might have prepared the 2013 budget. Regardless, the money that was budgeted to be put into those were not put into those. The 2015, as I read the notes, there was money put into the pension fund to pay at least partially for 2013 and a little bit for 2014. And then in 2016, even though there were monies budgeted, the monies were not put into the pension fund. It came to our attention, and we're not happy about this. We're not happy about any of this. But the monies were not put into the pension fund. So where we're left right now is there's a certain amount of money that the actuarials say need to be put into the pension fund, and it's our responsibility to do that. And that's what we're working on today. That's what we've come up with a plan, and we are to implement that plan.
I think it's important to explain that the actuarials also figure out what return on investment we would have got on that monies. And as a result, they want us to pay that too.
The state requires a fairly standard return on investment of about 8%. So even though the return on investments, as you know, if you've invested monies in the savings accounts and stuff like that, hasn't been 8%. But one of the nuances in this process is that the state requires us to put in money that was lost on the return of investment. And they use a standard rate of 8%, which is high. All that goes into the pension fund. So in essence, we're going to be probably putting more into the pension fund than what the pension fund requires per se, but it's what the actuarial company, excuse me, I'm talking, can you be quiet please?
He was talking to me.
He shouldn't be.
He's allowed.
Not in here.
Fine. I apologize. Please continue.
Okay, can I get back to my...
No, let him finish. This is really important why we're taking out the
But
line.
it's not accurate.
So the return on investment is, they're requiring us to put in 8%. So their calculations show 8%, which is what we're required to put in. And so the plan is to borrow a certain amount of money, $350,000, and put in monies that are already budgeted in the general fund to start addressing the, let's say, shortfall on the pension.
Because from a cash flow standpoint, to get a loan at 2.5% instead of paying that 8% makes sense. We don't lose the money, it's a cash flow problem now. So if we don't borrow the money, then we're going to have to pay 8% on that money. It's better to borrow it at the 2.5%.
Unfortunately, the state refers to, in their articles, they refer to this lost money on investment as interest. It's not interest that goes to the state, It's the lost on a return on investment that goes into the pension fund. What will probably amount to all this is that come next year, we won't know very much at all. But we're stuck with the idea of a, like Frank said, a cash flow or a timing issue where we have to pay, according to their rules, a little more than what we normally would have had to pay just because that's their policy, that's the state's policy.
But in the long term, it still comes down to a liability of how many people do you have in the pension, how many people are you eventually going to have in the pension. They do an actuarial study. So when you pay this 8%, which is probably way out of line,
Way out of line.
2 or 3 years down the line, when they do another actuarial study, the fund will be overfunded. Because right now there's...
We do this once a year.
Yeah, right now there's $2.7 million in the fund. No pension payments have been missed. All the pension payments are paid. It just comes down to you got to meet the numbers. I mean, and so that's the reason for taking out the loan, is just to try to address the cash flow situation.
There's really no other choice, quite frankly. So that's what we're in the process of doing. So with that as a background, we don't typically sit and answer debate questions. I'll listen to your points. And try to answer what's going on in this basic process that we're dealing with today, which is taking out the loan. But to sit and answer machine gun questions that are leading get us nowhere. This is technically a business meeting, but I'll try to fill you in. But this is a complex subject.
What the purpose of this meeting today is to approve or disapprove borrowing money from the Commonwealth Bank, First Commonwealth Bank.
Yes.
When did you meet with the First Commonwealth Bank?
Make your point.
I'm asking you, when you met with
What relevance is that?
this is relative because
But just tell me what your point is.
did you have a meeting to meet with the bank to apply for a loan?
We've met with the bank, we've gotten the information, we're ready to apply for a loan, yes.
When did you do this?
In the last week.
Last week.
Before this meeting.
Did you do it with council's approval?
Did I do it with council's approval? I was in Scotland, I didn't do anything.
To get information, Lou, you don't need council's approval. We can go out and look at insurances. We can go out and look at changing banks around. We can always gather information without having a council meeting. That's what the administrative group does. You were president of the council. That presidents of the council and the office can get together and they can go out and they can explore various alternatives.
On their own, without permission from council?
And then they come back to council.
To have a
So make your point. The point, what you're trying to say is this. I think what you're saying is that in order to get to approach the bank, you're saying the council needs to vote.
Council should have said that.
So state that.
Let's go out and get a loan, and I authorize you to negotiate the terms of the loan with the bank, which you didn't do.
Okay.
Then you turn around and you advertise it in the newspaper over a holiday weekend on a day that the publication is posted in the newspaper, a legal holiday, which ethically, maybe, I think is wrong.
Okay. So
Morally.
So what you're saying is.
Morally, I think you're also wrong because you didn't notify the community that you're having a special meeting to, and I think you're wrong. You're going about it in a roundabout way without the public knowing what you're doing.
Okay. Dolly?
I'm Dolly Hoffman. I live over on 1303 Spruce, and I agree 100% with Lou. You advertised it over a holiday weekend, which is illegal. Whether you believe it or not, it is illegal. You, out of your mouth, said in 2014, there was money that you had budgeted, but you didn't put into the account. You sat
No,
here right now.
2013, 2014, 2015,
Where is
2016.
that money?
It's in the.
No.
Well,
If
this is.
and Paul, you're.
Make your statement.
I am.
Make your
You're
statement.
very rude and condescending to the people here. That is not the purpose of council. Council is to listen to the people. We voted you in.
I'm listening.
And
That's
you're
exactly what we're doing.
No, you're very condescending, and I think that's very rude. Mr. Kell doesn't need it. He brought forth all these discrepancies, and now you're trying to weasel out of everything. So I just want to know where our money is. Why do we, and this is a statement, not a fact, why do we have to pay $40-some thousand on your error? And don't tell me that it's 8% back. It's 7 to 7.5%. So you're 8%. Why are you collecting that much more? I don't want to hear it. It's not right. You're trying to buffalo the people of Cheswick, and we're not stupid.
Jerry?
Well, I think enough has been said. I just balance my checkbook and wonder where the money is, that's all. You know, I thought that these funds were available, that this wasn't going to be a problem where it was going to end up in a loan situation.
Yeah, the only thing council knows at this point was that the monies weren't paid. And the only statement that we've had is that at the end of the year, the monies weren't there. So the pension administrator handles the pension, has complete, absolute authority on the pension and managing the pension. Council basically budgets the monies. So, and there's a whole process as to how much money needs to be budgeted. Come around September of each year, the actuarial company will, and a lot of this is relatively new to us, but the actuarial company will make a statement that says, based upon their calculations for the following year, like in September of 2017, they'll do calculations and say, come 2018, a certain amount of money needs to be put into the pension plan. For 2016, the police had no money that was required to be put into the pension plan. Prior to 2010, when you think about the financial issues that we had back in 2008, the financial crisis type situation, the state implemented a special around $52,000 that because of the loss on investments that were happening across pension plans, that there needed to be a certain amount of money that was put in the pension plans. The point is that it varies every year depending upon circumstances. What was a surprise was that for 13, 14, 15, and 16, the monies were not being put into the pension plan.
Why?
The only statement we have is the money wasn't there.
But where was it?
Where is it?
That's something to be
Why aren't
looked
you doing
at.
the management function? If I'm responsible for $330,000 in
You don't have
You
the
were there
floor at
when
this
one of
point.
these happened.
I'm talking to Jerry.
No.
Well, that's the point,
Just
is
let it
we're,
go.
if the money was appropriated, I mean, I would think if I was sitting in your position,
Just let it go.
not only being a taxpayer, but a resident and in your position, I would want someone to be accountable to me. As I said, I balance my checkbook, I would think somebody in your position balances the borough checkbook.
Yeah, and the intent is to look at that.
Okay.
Well, we're going to have an investigation. We want to answer the same questions. We don't know. We need to understand what happened. An investigation is going to happen. But right now, we don't want to pay that interest because that's even more money that'll come out of the borough. So right now, we're just trying to do some damage control.
Right.
And then And then we plan on, oh, excuse me, I gotta shut this off. But right now, we're trying to do damage control. We gotta do an investigation. We need to understand too what happened, because we thought this was being paid. You're as good as your reports.
One of the issues that we ran into when most of us first came in 2014, was that our accounting system was in very poor shape. It was very difficult to find out. The revenues were being kept on tablet paper. The expenses were being kept in a computer. We've spent the last couple of years trying to basically make it a Cheswick Borough accounting system so that we very easily can see what our incomes and expenses are. So back in 2013, 2014, things were not in good shape, to say the least. And exactly why monies weren't put in or why there was a shortage of monies, I don't know about those time periods. 2015, we started collecting. Keep in mind, there was a point in 2014 when we were behind in collecting water bills. We were 9 months behind in collecting water bills. So there's revenues there that weren't coming in. So the accounting system was in really bad shape. And we've spent the last couple of years trying to get that straightened away so that we have a comprehensive accounting system that's according to code and that we can use as a management tool. However, this portion of it is new. We've not known about this situation until relatively recently. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to deal with the situation at the time.
Can I ask what brought it to your awareness?
Mostly the newspaper, I would say. We were aware that there were issues, but we weren't aware of the magnitude of the issues. So when I started seeing discrepancies between what I understood and what the reporter was saying, and started digging into it, council started digging into it, we recognized that the problem was bigger than what we had realized. Fortunately, we've been controlling our costs really well. So, this is a situation to be dealt with. But we've been working hard controlling our costs. We don't have multiple full-time police officers that drive up pension costs and drive up other costs. We've been very careful on our public works situation as far as how we manage public works. We're providing the services, but we're doing so at a relatively large savings compared to the way it happened in the past. So financially, we're in reasonable shape, but this is a pretty major hit. We anticipate in the neighborhood, don't do too aghast, but from 2013 to 2016, we're behind by $505,000. So all your questions are legitimate as far as what's going on, but you right now know basically what we know. And our issue right now is to get over this initial hump, because we have to get these things paid, and they're to be into the pension plan. And then we can look at the accounting system, and we can look at the financial statements and see what we can glean from them. I've done that a little bit, but it's just accumulated. Jimmy?
My question is who's going to be our investigative agency?
The FBI.
We haven't got that far.
Will council, will you as a group council contact the Attorney General? Or
we haven't got that far. We have some, excuse me a second. We can't keep talking while other people are talking. Just wait a second. The whole process, and Andy's the administrator of the pension fund. We have a pension fund advisor, an R.J. Hall. R.J. Hall hires the actuarial group. We have internally our regular auditors. So all those are available to look at and discuss with and try to decide if, where we're going on the next step on this. Okay?
Make a comment?
Me too.
Yeah, Dolly, you can go.
You keep referring back to 2013.
Mm-hmm.
What were the audit statements for 2013, 14, 15, and 16? Who performed the audits, and why are you referring back to them? Why didn't they find a problem in 2013? Why wasn't it then, if they didn't find it in 2013, why didn't they find it then in 2014? Or are audits not being completed?
Our internal auditors basically look at our processes and procedures. Surprisingly enough, I don't know how they passed as far as process is concerned, but the auditors looked at the tablet papers and apparently looked at the computer printouts and said that, from their auditing standpoint, that they could match the receipts that went out. So they did a fundamental audit. That's different from the audit that you're referring to. You're referring to like a forensic audit that wants to look at, misconduct.
No. I was on the board of our credit union. Every year, we had to do a total. We had to pull files, we had to do everything to see where the money was going, how it was approved.
That was done.
And
That's the regular
it doesn't sound like it if money's missing.
Nobody said money's missing. The only thing that's been said is the decision was made that money wasn't there at the end of the year to pay the loan.
Oh. I guess I misunderstood.
Well, I mean, it could mean...
Money's not there, but money is there. So to me, that's double talk. Money's not missing, but it wasn't there. Is that what you're saying?
What you're saying is if you have income and revenues, because the income and revenues in a borough are relatively fluent. It depends on who's paying their taxes. It's depending on what kind of costs that you have. And every year you sit down and you do a budget. And in that budget you estimate what your revenues are going to be and what your expenses are going to be. But as the year progresses, those things change. There's variation in that. So it's entirely possible that if you have, if you have an exceptional number of water breaks and you have to deal with that type of situation, or you have certain breakdowns or roof problems or whatever that were not foreseen and not included in the initial budget, that you'll have to address those things. So come the end of the year, you would like to have a financial situation, a financial system that basically says, okay, here's where you're at. In 2013 and 2014, that was, well, actually until relatively recently, because we've been working on fixing that system. Until relatively recently, it was really hard to tell where we were at relative to income and expenses. So it's entirely possible that the borough secretary would look at, or the pension fund manager would look at this and say, do I have the monies at the end of 2013 to pay this plan, and didn't pay it. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that I can see how it would happen. I'm also, I mean, there's probably a lot of unanswered questions there that we don't have answers to.
Because I know we had, through the credit union, we had the federal people come in and double check and make sure all the checks and balances were in place. And it wasn't a 4 or 5 year lapse in doing this, or that credit union would have been shut down. So why can we Why are we running a town with not those checks and balances in place to know exactly where every penny is?
Well, we've been putting that system in place. That system was not in place
I
in
disagree.
2014.
That system was in place. There was a budget plan. You adopted a budget beginning of the year by line item. You have an actual. I asked council by last time I appeared at your caucus
When
meeting.
you were on council,
I wasn't on council.
when you were treasurer in 2014.
I wasn't treasurer in 2014.
How were the,
I wasn't
let's say in
treasurer
2013. Okay, when you were,
2013.
because you were done at the end of 2013. How were the revenues being kept?
How were the revenues being kept?
Yeah, how did you track revenues?
I'd have to ask Andy, but Andy put them and they're recorded in the borough accounts.
Were they tracked in the computer or were they tracked on tablet paper?
The auditor said they were tracked on tablet paper.
They were on tablet paper. See, that's the problem.
But,
We had
but-
stacks of tablet paper that had our revenues.
What does
You
it-
can't run a report. Right now, I can go over there and hit a button and basically says, this is our income and expenses. Back in 2014, when he was treasurer,
I wasn't
you
treasurer in
couldn't- or
2014.
2013, when he was treasurer, you couldn't do that. It's not his fault.
I had a report I was producing, and it wasn't the deficiency that Andy did not keep the books up to date current. So it made it very difficult to match actual to budget. So I was generating a report of actual to budget to the best that the accounting system would. It was there, it just wasn't being posted.
It was a difficult,
It
it was
wasn't-
very
it wasn't-
practical situation.
It wasn't posted. You had the same accounting system, same budget plan. You have QuickBooks now that you had then. You had the same budget procedures, same budget plan, same budget numbers. I got some of these old budgets, and they're the same accounting numbers. So the process is the same, has the same. What it is the oversight of it that's missing. And you can answer very quickly as to where the funds are. Get me budget to actual for 2013, 14, 15, and 16 on an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll answer your question as to where the funds went. That's all I need.
Any more questions?
Just
Donna?
one more, and then I'm finished. Everything goes back to 2013, which I don't understand why. Computers have been around since way before 2013. I've run spreadsheets 25 years ago. Why do we pick 2013 as the magic year where things aren't, and now we're going to get things? Were things not...
2013 is brought up because that was the first year that the pension monies weren't paid.
But why weren't we up to date with computers and things way back then?
No idea.
I mean, to me, this
We've
seems
been working
like...
very hard to get the whole financial situation up to date over the last couple of years.
So it has to take a newspaper article to shake council up to say, something's wrong and now we gotta look at everything. That doesn't sound right
Well, it was
to
really
me.
a letter from the Auditor General.
Yeah.
It was a letter from the Auditor General saying, you're not paying.
And the newspaper sort of...
And they picked up on it.
They picked up on it. Lou?
I'll make my last comments and I'm going to leave. I
And
think
we have to finish
I
this
think-
process too.
we're getting a little bit back and forth on the subject, off the subject and such. I think that without council's approval, by going to this bank and negotiating a deal of $350,000 for 6 years is illegal. Without council's, at a public meeting stating so. Ethically, I think it's wrong. You have to sit down and use your conscience and say, we did something wrong, let's admit it, and wait until the next official meeting where the general public has knowledge of what's going on, and maybe we'll have 100 people come instead of 5 or 6 of us that are concerned about what's going on in this community. And I think you have a moral obligation to turn this down and do so at a regular scheduled meeting. When you advertised this meeting, you did it on a public holiday, which is, no business is allowed to be done on a public holiday. Thank you.
I just have a comment as one council member, and that is that we're in a position now where we can save some money. There wasn't any intention here to do anything under the table. We have to act. We have to act now because we've got to get this done before they charge us that interest. And you don't get a loan like that. We've checked the information, which is the way you do things. Now council is basically saying to proceed. We're doing it to save money. We're just trying to do damage control now. As far as the investigation goes, I mean, it's embarrassing. We don't know exactly why it happened. We're going to try to find out. But right now, we know what the symptom is. And the symptom is we owe money, and we're going to end up paying even more money if we don't do something right now. As Paul said, our finances are very good. In 2 or 3 years, I forget, our bond is going to be over. Our roads, we did it for roads and for water lines. They're in good shape. We're going to be in very good shape financially. So we just need to do damage control for this problem. So I see your point, Lou, but right now the most responsible thing I think council can do right now is to proceed with getting this loan. I think we're going to be fine. In the long term, it's just a responsible thing to do. There was no intention here to pull some clandestine move over here. We're just residents just like you. We're not out this to try to defend ourselves. Nobody was on council when all this thing happened except for me. None of these people here are doing this for defensive reasons. They're doing it because it's the responsible thing to do.
Jerry?
I just have like one little question on the loan. Okay, so let's say we go ahead, like Frank said, and get the loan to get you beyond this point. And I'm not sure how finances are on this term, but is it going to be like open-ended? You come across and find the money, can you pay off the loan and get rid of it?
It's not a matter of finding money. That's the wrong concept. It's the money had been spent for other reasons prior to the end of the year.
I didn't realize that it was spent. I thought the money was just somewhere you're not aware of.
No.
Because I thought, well, if you find the money, then pay the loan off and get rid of it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, at the end of 2013, it's my understanding that they looked at their revenues and they looked at their expenses and said, we don't have money left over because we've spent it all on other things.
Okay, I didn't realize it was spent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not a matter of it disappears. It's a matter of what it was spent on and how it was spent and how it relates to the income.
The audit report for 2013 by the public auditors said you had a surplus of $103,000. How do you explain that relative to saying the
I don't know how many times he can say it. We can't explain anything now until we do the investigation. We're all as frustrated as you. We need to do the investigation, then we can answer the questions. But right now, we have a situation where we need to act before the end of June to have the money paid, or we're going to pay another 7%. We just got to do the responsible thing.
Yeah, we owe a response back to the state basically now. So.
I said I was going to speak again,
Okay.
but you just made a comment that contradicted what you said before, so I want clarification.
Okay.
Because you said we do not know the money's not there. But you just said to Jerry, the money's not there, it's spent. You just said that. So I wanted clarification on that.
All I was saying was that in the course of a year, you have income and you have expenses.
I understand all that. I
Come to the end of the year, the decision was made by the borough secretary that the money, there was not enough money from that whole process for that year to because the pension plans are due at the very end of the year. decided that there wasn't enough money to pay for these. That's what our understanding is.
Yeah, but I just said 20 minutes ago or that. And then you're coming back to Jerry when she said, is it an open-ended, when you find
Well,
money, and you just pay it off, and you
I
said
see
there
what
is
you're
no
saying.
money.
The implication,
It was spent.
the implication was that there was monies that were lost. And that's not the correct definition.
So the money's not there.
It's misspent.
It was spent.
Well, why didn't you say that way back when I asked you?
Don't mix things.
Okay, we're going to proceed on.
You don't know what was
You
missing.
know, can I, one
No,
more question?
we're done, Luke.
One
We're
more.
done. No, we're done.
I would like to know how much interest you're paying on this
Can I have a
loan.
motion to go to executive
I'll
session?
wait, like,
I'll make a
It's
motion to go into
okay.
executive session.
Do I have a
I
second?
second the motion.
A motion and a second to go into executive session for legal purposes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Make it clear, we're not voting on this.
We're not voting on this. Opposed? We're in executive session.
Does that mean we leave?
That means you leave.
Okay, I thought so.
We will, when we're done here, we will